The first sound I heard after 23 years of silence was my son Ethan calling me a worthless burden to his wife Kara. 2 hours later, I walked into their kitchen with a smile on my face. I pretended I hadn't heard a thing. That's when I realized my family had no idea what was coming for them. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. I am Marian Doyle. I am 68 years old. I have been deaf for 23 years. Until this morning. This morning, I woke up at Riverside Medical Center. Dr. Sofia Alvarez stood beside my bed. She wore blue scrubs and kind eyes. She touched my hand gently. "The surgery went well," she said. I watched her lips form each word. The cochlear implant was in place. She would activate it at 10 o'clock. I nodded. I had saved for this surgery for 6 years. My son Ethan thought I should save the money instead. He said I was too old for risky procedures. He used words like sensible and practical. He meant I should leave the money alone. Leave it for him. Dr. Alvarez activated the device at 10. The first sound was a high-pitched beep. Then her voice saying my name. "Marian, can you hear me?" It hit me like cold water. Too loud. Too sharp. Everything rushed in at once. The hum of machines. Footsteps in the hallway. A telephone ringing somewhere distant. She warned me it would feel overwhelming. Like turning on lights after years in the dark, she said. I sat very still. I let the world pour in. By 11 I could hear my own breathing. The rustle of sheets when I shifted. The click of the nurse's pen. Every sound had an edge. Every edge was new. Ethan arrived at noon to take me home. Not to my home. To his. He said I needed supervision during recovery. He said Kara had prepared the guest room. He said it was all arranged. I nodded and gathered my things. We drove in his black sedan. The one with the cracked windshield. He talked the whole way. I watched his reflection in the side mirror. I heard every single word. He said the recovery would take time. He said I shouldn't be alone. He said this was the responsible choice. I said nothing. I wanted to surprise them. I imagined the moment I would speak. I imagined their faces lighting up with joy. I thought they would be happy for me. I was wrong. We pulled into his driveway just after 1. Kara came out to meet us. She wore a yellow blouse and white pants. Her smile was wide and careful. She hugged me like I was made of glass. She led me inside. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and something burnt. She walked me to the guest room. Pale blue walls. Lace curtains. A lamp with a bulb too dim for reading. A throw pillow that said blessed in gold letters. She told me to rest. She said lunch would be ready soon. She closed the door softly. I sat on the edge of the bed. I waited. Then I heard them. Their voices came through the heating vent near the floor. Clear as daylight. Ethan spoke first. He said the timing was perfect. Kara asked if I seemed confused. Ethan said I seemed the same as always. Out of it, he said. Kara laughed. A short, quiet laugh. She said Cedar Ridge called back this morning. A bed would open up in 3 weeks. Ethan said that was good news. Real good news. Kara said she already scheduled the intake assessment. She said she told them I was declining mentally. She said she told them the surgery failed. Ethan asked if they questioned it. Kara said no. They always believe the family, she said. I sat very still on that bed. Cedar Ridge. I knew that place. Beige brick building on the east side of town. Small windows. Chain link fence around the parking lot. A place where people went and stayed. Ethan kept talking. He said they needed to list my house fast. Before I got any ideas. Kara said the realtor already looked at it. Charming ranch, she said. Quiet street. Mature landscaping. She said it would sell in under a week. My house. The house Tom and I bought in 1979. The house where I planted roses after his funeral. The house I scrubbed and painted and paid for. Alone. Tom died 23 years ago. Drunk driver. Red light. Tom died instantly. I lost my hearing from the impact. Trauma to the inner ear, the doctor said. Permanent damage. I learned to read lips. I learned to manage alone. I installed grab bars in the bathroom. I kept the bills paid. I kept the garden alive. I kept living. And now my son wanted to sell it. Without asking. Without telling me. Kara said something about renovation ideas. New countertops. Open floor plan. Ethan said they could finally breathe. Finally get ahead. I stood up slowly. I walked to the mirror above the dresser. Gray hair pulled back in a bun. Soft lines around my mouth and eyes. Hands that still worked. Mind that still worked. I was not confused. I was not declining. I was awake. And I was done. 2 hours later, I walked into their kitchen. I made my face soft. I made my smile easy. Kara was at the stove stirring soup. Ethan sat at the table scrolling his phone. I stood in the doorway. Kara looked up and waved. Big gestures. Exaggerated. The way people do with the deaf. She mouthed the words lunch is ready. I nodded. I sat down across from Ethan. He barely looked up. Kara set bowls in front of us. Canned tomato soup. Crackers on the side. She sat down and smiled at me. She reached over and squeezed my hand. We're so glad you're here, she mouthed slowly. I smiled back. I picked up my spoon. I ate quietly. I listened. Ethan talked about work. Mortgage rates. Difficult clients. Deals that fell through. Kara nodded along. She asked about his day. She asked about his stress. She did not ask about me. Neither of them did. I finished my soup. I wiped my mouth with the paper napkin. I looked at both of them. Still smiling. Still silent. They had no idea. No idea I had heard every word through that vent. No idea I knew about Cedar Ridge. No idea I knew about the realtor. No idea what I was planning. After lunch, Kara walked me back to the guest room. She said I should nap. She said rest was important after surgery. She touched my shoulder. She left. I sat on the bed. I took out my phone. I made the first call to my bank. I spoke quietly but clearly. I changed my beneficiaries. I added transfer blocks. I secured my accounts. The woman on the phone was efficient and kind. She confirmed everything twice. I thanked her. I hung up. The second call was to Daniel Park. A state attorney. My neighbor June mentioned him once. Sharp mind, she said. Doesn't mess around. He answered on the third ring. I told him I needed help. I told him it was urgent. I told him what I had heard. He listened without interrupting. He said he could see me tomorrow morning. He said to bring any documents I had. I said I would. The third call was to Lena Brooks. Digital investigator. She specialized in elder fraud. I found her name online 2 months ago. Just in case. She answered immediately. I explained the situation. The vent. The conversation. The plans. She said she'd seen this before. Too many times. She said she could start today. She asked for names and email addresses. I gave her everything. She said she would call me tonight. I hung up. I put the phone in my pocket. I lay back on the bed. I stared at the ceiling. The house was quiet around me. But inside my head, I was loud. Inside my head, I was roaring. I closed my eyes. I smiled. They thought I was a worthless burden. They thought I was confused and fading. They thought I couldn't hear. They thought wrong. I rested my hands on my stomach. I felt my heartbeat. Steady. Strong. I was 68 years old. I had survived a drunk driver. I had survived 23 years of silence. I had survived grief and loss and loneliness. I would survive this. And I would make sure they remembered it. The afternoon light came through the lace curtains. Soft and pale. I listened to the house settle. The creak of floorboards upstairs. The hum of the refrigerator. The distant bark of a dog outside. Every sound was a gift. Every sound was a weapon. I was not their burden. I was not their solution. I was Marian Doyle. And I was just getting started. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Lena Brooks called me back at 6:30 that evening. I was alone in the guest room. The door was closed. I kept my voice low. She said she had accessed their email accounts. Legal access, she said. Through publicly available password resets and cached data. I didn't ask how. I didn't need to know. She said Kara had been planning this for months. Long before my surgery. There were emails to Cedar Ridge from February. Inquiry emails. Pricing emails. Emails asking about memory care units. I had the surgery in April. This was late April now. Kara had been planning since winter. Lena said there were spreadsheets too. Ethan's spreadsheets. My savings listed as pending income. My house listed as liquidated asset. A renovation budget for their kitchen. New appliances. Granite countertops. A wine fridge. Lena asked if I wanted copies. I said yes. She said she would send everything tonight. Encrypted email. Password protected. She said I should forward it all to my attorney. I thanked her. She said one more thing. Kara had called Cedar Ridge again today. This afternoon. Right after she brought me soup. She told them I seemed disoriented. She told them I wasn't speaking clearly. She told them I might need the memory unit. Not just assisted living. Memory care. Where they lock the doors. Where they decide when you eat and sleep. Where you can't leave. I sat on the edge of the bed. I felt my hands go cold. Lena asked if I was all right. I said I was fine. I said I would see her tomorrow. She gave me her office address. I hung up. I sat in the dim light. The lamp with the 40-watt bulb barely reached the corners. I thought about Tom, how he used to check on me every night. Make sure the doors were locked. Make sure I was safe. He would have burned this house down before letting them do this. I stood up. I walked to the window. The street outside was quiet. Porch lights coming on. A sprinkler running somewhere. Normal life. I didn't feel normal. I felt like something had cracked open inside me. Something sharp and clear. Dinner was at 7. Kara called me down. She had made chicken and rice. Frozen vegetables on the side. Everything pale and soft. Food for someone without teeth. Ethan barely looked up from his phone. Kara smiled and served me first. She put small portions on my plate. Like I couldn't decide for myself how much to eat. She cut my chicken into pieces. I didn't stop her. I watched her hands move. Efficient. Practiced. Like she had done this before. Like she was already rehearsing for Cedar Ridge. We ate in near silence. Ethan scrolled. Kara chewed carefully. I listened to the clock on the wall. The scrape of forks on plates. The hum of the refrigerator motor. After dinner, Kara walked me upstairs. She said I looked tired. She said sleep would help. She touched my back as I climbed the stairs, guiding me, like I might fall. I climbed slowly on purpose. I let her think I needed help. In the guest room, she turned down the bed. She fluffed the pillows. She asked if I needed anything. I shook my head. She kissed my forehead. Her lips felt cold. She left. I waited 10 minutes. Then I checked my email on my phone. Lena had sent everything. 47 pages. I scrolled through them in the dark. Every email, every spreadsheet, every plan they thought was private. I saved them all. I forwarded them to Daniel Park. Then I lay back on the bed. I didn't sleep. I listened. Ethan and Kara went to their room at 10. The floor creaked above me. Water ran in their bathroom. Then voices. Kara asked if he had called the realtor back. Ethan said he would do it tomorrow. Kara asked if he was sure about the price. Ethan said they couldn't go too low. They needed enough to cover everything. The cards, the loan, the renovation. Kara said they should move fast once I was placed. Before I started asking questions. Before I got confused about where my things went. Ethan agreed. He said it would be cleaner that way. Cleaner. Like I was a spill to be wiped up. I stared at the dark ceiling. I counted my breaths. I did not cry. I had cried enough in my life. For Tom. For the silence. For the years I spent alone thinking I was the problem. I was done crying. The next morning, I was awake before sunrise. I dressed in the dark. Gray slacks. A cardigan Tom bought me for our anniversary. 20 years ago. The buttons were loose but it still fit. I went downstairs quietly. Kara was already in the kitchen. She was making coffee. She jumped when she saw me. She asked if I slept well. I nodded. She poured me a cup of coffee. Weak and pale. Too much water. She said Ethan had to work today. She said she would stay home with me. She said we could watch television. Or look at photo albums. Something easy. I nodded again. I sipped the coffee. It tasted like nothing. At 9 o'clock, I pointed to my purse. I made a gesture like I needed something. Kara asked what I needed. I pulled out a notepad I had brought. I wrote doctor follow-up appointment today. Kara's face changed. She looked worried. She said she didn't know about any appointment. I wrote, Dr. Alvarez scheduled it before discharge. Kara asked what time. I wrote 10:30. Kara said she would drive me. I nodded. I wrote thank you. We left at 10. Kara drove her white SUV. She talked the whole way. She said she hoped everything was healing well. She said cochlear implants were tricky. She said sometimes they didn't take. She said it wouldn't be my fault if it failed. I watched the road. I said nothing. We pulled into the Riverside Medical Center parking lot. Kara parked near the entrance. She offered to come in with me. I shook my head. I pointed at the entrance. I made a gesture that meant I could manage. Kara looked uncertain, but she nodded. She said she would wait in the car. I walked toward the glass doors. I didn't look back. Inside, Dr. Alvarez was waiting. So was Daniel Park. He wore a gray suit and a wedding ring. He was younger than I expected. Maybe 50. He shook my hand firmly. Dr. Alvarez led us to her office. She closed the door. She asked me to describe what I had heard. I told her everything. The vent. The conversation. Cedar Ridge. The realtor. The memory care unit. I told her about the emails. The spreadsheets. The plans. Daniel took notes on a yellow legal pad. His pen moved quickly. Dr. Alvarez asked me to demonstrate my hearing. She stood behind me. She asked me to repeat what she said. I repeated every word perfectly. She stood in the hallway. She spoke through the door. I repeated every word. She came back in. She said my hearing was excellent. She said the implant was functioning beautifully. She said there was no sign of confusion or disorientation. Daniel asked if she would document that. She said she already had. She printed a report. 3 pages. She signed the bottom of each page. She handed them to Daniel. Daniel looked at me. He asked if I wanted to proceed. I said yes. He opened his briefcase. He pulled out documents, transfer forms, trust papers, power of attorney revocations. He explained each one, where to sign, what it meant. I signed them all. My hand was steady. Daniel said he would file everything today. He said Ethan and Kara would receive notice by tomorrow. He said they would not be able to access my accounts. They would not be able to sell my house. They would not be able to make medical decisions. He said I was protected now. I thanked him. Dr. Alvarez squeezed my shoulder. She said I was brave. I didn't feel brave. I felt awake. I walked back to the parking lot. Kara was still in the SUV, scrolling her phone. I opened the passenger door. I got in. She asked how it went. I gave her a thumbs up. She smiled. She started the engine. She said we should celebrate. Maybe lunch out. Somewhere nice. I shook my head. I pointed toward home. Her home. She looked disappointed. But she drove. We got back at noon. Ethan's car was in the driveway. He was home early. We walked inside. He was sitting at the kitchen table. Papers spread in front of him. He looked up when we came in. He looked at Kara. He looked at me. Something in his face had changed. Something hard. I stood in the doorway. I kept my face soft. I kept my hands still. I waited. Ethan asked how the appointment went. Kara said it went fine. Ethan kept looking at me. He asked if the doctor said anything. Kara said no. Just a routine follow-up. Ethan nodded slowly, but his eyes stayed on me. I smiled. I walked past him to the guest room. I closed the door. I sat on the bed. I heard them talking in low voices. I couldn't make out the words, but I heard the tone. Worry, suspicion, fear. I lay back on the bed. I folded my hands over my stomach. Tomorrow the notice would arrive. Tomorrow they would know. Tomorrow everything would change. But tonight, I would rest. I would breathe. I would listen to this house that wasn't mine. And I would count the hours until I could go home. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The notice arrived at 9:15 the next morning. A sheriff's deputy brought it to the door. I was in the guest room. I heard the doorbell. I heard Ethan answer. I heard the deputy say his name. Ethan Michael Doyle. Then I heard paper rustling. The deputy said he had been served. He said to read it carefully. He said to contact the attorney listed if there were questions. Then the door closed. Silence. I counted to 30. Then I heard Ethan shout for Kara. His voice was sharp. Panicked. I stayed in the guest room. I sat on the bed with my hands folded. I listened. Kara's footsteps came fast down the stairs. She asked what was wrong. Ethan said something I couldn't make out. Then Kara's voice rose, high and thin. She said it wasn't possible. She said there must be a mistake. Ethan said it was from an attorney. Daniel Park. Estate and Elder Protection Law. Kara asked what it said. Ethan read pieces out loud. His voice shook. All financial accounts frozen. All beneficiary designations changed. Property placed in irrevocable trust. Medical power of attorney revoked. Legal notice of attempted exploitation. He stopped reading. Kara said my name. She said it like a curse. She said I couldn't have done this. She said I was deaf. She said I didn't understand these things. Ethan said someone was helping me. He said someone had to be helping me. Kara said it was impossible. I had been with them the whole time. Ethan said clearly I had been lying. His voice was cold now. Hard. He said I must have heard them. Kara went quiet. I imagined her face. The realization sinking in. Ethan said my name again. Different this time. Like he finally understood. Then I heard footsteps. Fast. Coming toward the guest room. The door opened. No knock. Ethan stood in the doorway. His face was red. His jaw tight. Kara stood behind him. Her arms crossed. Her eyes cold. I looked up at them. I kept my face neutral. Calm. Ethan held up the papers. He asked if I could hear him. I stared at him. I didn't move. He stepped closer. He asked again. Louder this time. He asked if I understood what I had done. I stood up slowly. I looked him in the eye. I spoke clearly. I said I understood perfectly. His face went pale. Kara gasped. A small, sharp sound. I said I heard them through the vent. I said I heard every word. Cedar Ridge. The realtor. The memory care unit. The renovation plans. I said I heard them call me worthless. I said I heard them plan my life like I was already dead. Ethan opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Kara stepped forward. She said I misunderstood. She said they were trying to help. She said they were worried about me. I said worry doesn't look like theft. I said help doesn't look like lies. Kara's face twisted. She said I was ungrateful. She said they opened their home to me. She said they gave up their privacy. Their time. Their peace. I said I never asked for any of it. I said they offered because they wanted my house. Kara's mouth snapped shut. Ethan found his voice again. He said I was sick. He said I was paranoid. He said the surgery had damaged my brain. I picked up my phone. I opened the email from Lena. I turned the screen toward him. I said I had every email. Every spreadsheet. Every call to Cedar Ridge. Every search about guardianship. I said I had proof. And I had lawyers. Ethan's hands dropped to his sides. The papers fell to the floor. Kara started to cry. Not sad crying. Angry crying. She said I was ruining them. She said they had bills. She said they had problems. She said I could have helped. I said I did help. For years. Babysitting. Loans that became gifts. Down payment on this very house. I said I helped raise them both up. And they repaid me by trying to lock me away. Ethan said I was being dramatic. He said they weren't trying to lock me away. I asked him what he called memory care. He didn't answer. I asked him what he called selling my house without consent. He looked at the floor. I said I was leaving. Kara said I couldn't. I said watch me. I walked to the closet. I pulled out my suitcase. I packed my clothes, the cardigan, my toiletries, the photo of Tom I kept on the nightstand. They stood in the doorway watching. Not helping, not speaking, just watching. I zipped the suitcase. I picked up my purse. I walked toward them. They didn't move. I stopped in front of Ethan. I looked at him the way I used to when he was small. When he broke something. When he lied. When he needed to understand consequences. I said he was my son. I said I loved him. But I said love is not permission. And family is not ownership. I said I was done. His eyes filled with tears. He didn't try to stop me. I walked past them, down the hallway, down the stairs, through the living room with the cream-colored sofa, through the kitchen with the granite countertops they hadn't paid for yet. I opened the front door. Bright morning light poured in. A sheriff's deputy was still parked at the curb. Daniel had arranged it. Protection. Witness. I walked toward the car. The deputy got out. He asked if I was all right. I said I was fine. He asked if I needed a ride. I said yes. He opened the back door for me. I looked back at the house. Ethan and Kara stood in the doorway, side by side, watching. I didn't wave. I got in the car. The deputy closed the door. He got in the front. He asked where I wanted to go. I gave him my address. Birch Lane, my house. He nodded. He started the engine. We pulled away. I didn't look back again. We drove through streets I knew by heart. Past the park where I used to take Ethan. Past the grocery store where I shopped for 40 years. Past the church where we buried Tom. Everything familiar. Everything mine. We turned onto Birch Lane. I saw my house at the end of the block. White siding, blue shutters, the rose bushes blooming by the porch. Pink and yellow, Tom's favorite colors. The deputy pulled into my driveway. He got out. He opened my door. He carried my suitcase to the porch. I unlocked the door with the key I never gave up. The smell hit me first. Dust. Closed air. Home. I stepped inside. The deputy set my suitcase in the entryway. He handed me a card. Daniel Park's number. He said to call if I needed anything. He said someone would check on me tomorrow. I thanked him. He tipped his head. He left. I closed the door. I locked it. I stood in my own hallway. Sunlight came through the kitchen window. Dust motes floated in the beam. The house was quiet, not silent. I heard the refrigerator hum. The clock tick in the living room. A car pass outside. I heard it all. I walked through each room. The living room with Tom's recliner. The kitchen with the table we bought at a yard sale. The bedroom where I slept alone for 23 years. Everything was exactly as I left it. Exactly as it should be. I opened the windows. Fresh air rushed in. I made a pot of coffee. Real coffee. Strong and dark. I sat at my kitchen table. The same chair I always sat in. I drank my coffee slowly. I listened to my house breathe. I was home. I was safe. I was free. And I was done pretending to be anyone's burden. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. I spent the first 3 days cleaning. Not because the house was dirty. Because I needed to touch everything. Reclaim it. Make it mine again. I washed the windows until they squeaked. I scrubbed the kitchen floor on my hands and knees. I aired out every closet. I pulled Tom's old shirts from the back of the bedroom closet. They still smelled like him. Soap and sawdust. I held them for a long time. Then I folded them carefully. Put them back. Some things you keep. Not to wear. Just to remember. On the 4th day, Daniel Park came by. He knocked at 10 in the morning. I made coffee. We sat at the kitchen table. He opened his briefcase. He pulled out papers. Updates, he called them. Ethan had tried to contest the trust. The court denied it. Kara had called Adult Protective Services. She said I was being manipulated. She said I was not competent. APS sent an investigator. A woman named Gloria. She came yesterday while I was at the grocery store. She left a card. Daniel said she would be back. He said to tell the truth. He said I had nothing to hide. I asked what would happen to Ethan and Kara. Daniel said nothing criminal. No charges. No arrest. just financial consequences, their own debts, their own choices. He said sometimes the punishment is just the truth coming out. I nodded. He finished his coffee. He said to call if I needed anything. He left. I sat at the table for a while. The house was quiet around me, but not empty. I heard the wind chimes on the back porch, the ones Tom hung 20 years ago. I heard them sing. That afternoon, my neighbor June came over. She didn't knock. She just walked in the back door like always. She brought a casserole, tuna noodle, the same one she made when Tom died. She set it on the counter. She looked at me. She asked if I was all right. I said I was. She said she heard things. Small town. People talk. I said I knew. She asked if I wanted to talk about it. I said not yet. She nodded. She said the casserole would keep for 3 days. She said to call if I needed her. She hugged me, hard and quick. Then she left. I put the casserole in the refrigerator. I stood there looking at it. This is what love looks like. Not promises, not plans, just tuna noodle casserole and a hug. The next morning, Gloria from APS knocked on my door. She was younger than I expected. Maybe 40. She wore slacks and a blazer. She carried a clipboard. She asked if she could come in. I said yes. We sat in the living room. She asked questions. How was I managing? Did I need help with bills? Did I feel safe? Did I understand my financial decisions? I answered everything clearly. I showed her my checkbook, balanced to the penny. I showed her my medications, organized by day. I showed her my calendar. Doctor appointments marked in blue, book club in red, grocery day in green. She asked about my hearing. I told her about the surgery, about Dr. Alvarez, about the implant. She asked if I felt pressured by anyone. I said no. She asked if Daniel Park had coerced me. I said no. I said I hired him myself. She asked about my son. I took a breath. I told her the truth. About the vent. About what I heard. About Cedar Ridge. About the plans to sell my house. She wrote everything down. She asked if I felt unsafe around Ethan or Kara. I said no. Just disappointed. She asked if I wanted a restraining order. I said no. I said boundaries were enough. She closed her notebook. She said I seemed very capable. She said she would close the case. She said she was sorry this happened. I thanked her. She left. I stood at the window and watched her car pull away. Then I cried. Not because I was sad. Because I was relieved. Someone official had looked at me. Really looked. And saw that I was fine. That weekend, Leo came to visit. My grandson. 20 years old. Tall like Tom. He knocked softly. I opened the door. He stood there with his hands in his pockets. He asked if he could come in. I said yes. We sat on the porch. The afternoon sun was warm. The roses were blooming. He said he heard what happened. He said his parents told their version. He said he didn't believe them. He asked for my version. I told him all of it. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet. Then he said he was sorry. He said he should have noticed something was wrong. I said it wasn't his job to notice. He said he loved them, but he didn't like what they did. I said that was fair. He asked if I was angry at him. I said no. I said he didn't do anything wrong. He asked if he could still visit. I said I would like that very much. He hugged me, long and tight. When he left, I felt lighter. One piece of my family was still whole. The following Tuesday, I went to book club. First time in 6 weeks. I had missed it during the surgery recovery. And during the nightmare at Ethan's house, the group met at the library. 6 women, all around my age. They looked up when I walked in. Nancy asked how I was feeling. I said I was good. She asked about my hearing. I said it was working beautifully. They wanted details. I told them about the surgery, about Dr. Alvarez, about the activation. I didn't tell them about Ethan and Kara. Not yet. Maybe never. We talked about the book. A mystery set in Maine. I had finished it in 3 days. After book club, I walked through downtown. Past the pharmacy. Past the hardware store. Past the diner where Tom and I used to eat breakfast. Everything was the same, but I was different. I heard everything now. Car doors. Bird calls. Conversations on the sidewalk. A child laughing. A dog barking. The world was loud and full. And I was part of it again. When I got home, there was a message on my machine. The red light blinking. I pressed play. It was Nina, my granddaughter, 18 years old. Her voice was shaky. She said she wanted to talk. She said she was sorry. She said she didn't know what her parents were planning. She said she felt sick when she found out. She left her number. She asked me to call back. I saved the message. I would call her tomorrow. Tonight, I wanted to sit with it. Sit with the fact that both my grandchildren reached out. That they chose me. That love was still possible. I made soup for dinner. Vegetable beef. Tom's favorite. I ate at the table. The same place I always sat. I listened to the house settle. The creak of wood. The tick of the clock. The hum of the furnace kicking on. All the sounds of home. After dinner, I washed the dishes by hand. I dried them with the dish towel June gave me last Christmas. Red and white checks. I put everything away in its place. Then I sat in Tom's recliner. I had avoided it for years. It felt wrong to sit there without him. But tonight, it felt right. I leaned back. I closed my eyes. I thought about everything that had happened. The surgery, the betrayal, the fight, the freedom. I thought about Ethan, the boy I raised, the man who tried to steal from me. I didn't hate him, but I didn't trust him either. Maybe someday, maybe not. I thought about Tom, what he would say about all this. He would have been furious. Then he would have held me. Then he would have made me laugh. I missed him. Every single day. But I was learning to be whole without him. Learning to be enough on my own. I opened my eyes. The living room was dark now. Just the lamp in the corner. Soft yellow light. I stood up. I turned off the lamp. I walked to the bedroom. I changed into my nightgown. I brushed my teeth. I climbed into bed. The sheets were cool and clean. I lay there listening. A car passed outside. The wind chimes sang softly. Crickets called in the garden. I heard it all. Every beautiful sound. I was 68 years old. I was alone in my house. And I was not afraid. I was not a burden. I was not confused. I was not declining. I was Marian Doyle. And I was home. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. I called Nina back the next morning. Wednesday. The phone rang 3 times. She answered on the 4th. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. She asked if it was really me. I said yes. She started crying, not loud, just soft breathing and sniffles. She said she was sorry. She said it over and over. I told her to stop. I told her she had nothing to apologize for. She said she should have known. She said she should have asked questions. I said children shouldn't have to police their parents. She was quiet for a moment. Then she asked if she could visit. I said yes. She asked when. I said anytime. She said she would come Saturday. I said I would make lunch. She said she loved me. I said I loved her too. We hung up. I stood in the kitchen holding the phone. Sunlight came through the window above the sink. It lit up the dust on the counter. I wiped it clean. Then I made a list. Groceries for Saturday. Nina liked grilled cheese and tomato soup. Simple things. Comfort food. I would make chocolate chip cookies too. The ones with extra chips. Her favorite since she was small. That afternoon, I went to the grocery store. I pushed my cart slowly. I listened to everything. The scanner beeping. Wheels squeaking on the floor. Music playing overhead. A baby crying near the deli counter. In the cereal aisle, I saw Kara. She was reading the back of a box. Generic brand. Store label. She looked tired. Her hair needed washing. She wore yoga pants and a stained shirt. I stopped my cart. I could have turned around. Gone the other way. But I didn't. I pushed forward. She looked up when she heard my cart. Her face went pale. She put the cereal box back. She started to walk away. I said her name. She stopped. She didn't turn around. I said I wasn't going to make a scene. I said I just wanted my groceries. She turned slowly. She looked at me. Her eyes were red. She asked how I was. I said I was fine. She nodded. She said she was glad. Her voice was flat. She asked if I hated her. I thought about it. I said no. I said I was disappointed. She looked at the floor. She said they lost the house. Bank took it last week. They were in an apartment now. 1 bedroom. Thin walls. She said Ethan was working 2 jobs. She said she was working at Cedar Ridge. Filing papers. Intake coordinator. The irony was not lost on either of us. She said Nina wasn't speaking to them. Leo either. She said it was hard. I said choices have consequences. She nodded. She said she was sorry. I said I heard her. But I didn't say I forgave her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. She picked up her cart. She said she should go. I said goodbye. She walked away. I watched her turn the corner. Then I finished my shopping. At home, I put the groceries away. I made myself a sandwich. Turkey and Swiss. Lettuce and mustard. I ate standing at the counter. Looking out at the backyard. The roses needed deadheading. The grass needed mowing. I would call someone tomorrow. I wasn't 20 anymore. Some things I could pay for. That evening, June came over again. She brought mail. It had been delivered to her box by mistake. Bills mostly. Electric. Water. A flyer for gutter cleaning. We sat on the porch. The sun was going down. Orange and pink. June asked if I was okay. Really okay. I said I was getting there. She said she saw Kara at the store. I said I did too. June asked if I talked to her. I said yes. June asked what I said. I told her. June nodded slowly. She said I was kinder than she would have been. I said kindness and trust are different things. June agreed. She said Ethan had been calling her. Asking about me. Asking if I was managing. She said she told him I was fine. She said she told him to leave me alone. I thanked her. She squeezed my hand. She said that's what neighbors do. She left when the sun went down. I locked the door behind her. I turned on the porch light. Yellow light spilling onto the steps. Moths gathered immediately, dancing in circles. I watched them for a while. Then I went inside. Friday, I baked the cookies. 3 dozen. Chocolate chip with extra chips like I promised myself. The house smelled like butter and sugar. Like home. Like memory. I packed half in a tin for Nina. The other half I left on a plate for us to eat fresh. I made tomato soup from scratch. Not from a can. Real tomatoes. Basil from the pot on the windowsill. Cream, salt and pepper. It simmered on the stove all afternoon. I cleaned the house. Not deep cleaning like before. Just tidying, fluffing pillows, wiping counters, sweeping the floor, making space for her. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed listening to the house. Thinking about Nina. Thinking about what I would say. Thinking about what she might need to hear. Finally, I got up. I went to the kitchen. I made chamomile tea. I sat at the table in the dark. Just me and the streetlight coming through the window. I thought about Tom. How he always knew what to say. How he made hard things feel lighter. I missed him, but I was learning his language. The language of showing up. Of making soup. Of leaving the light on. Saturday morning, Nina arrived at 11. She drove her old Honda. The one with the dent in the bumper. I watched her park from the window. She sat in the car for a minute. Then she got out. She walked slowly up the path. I opened the door before she knocked. She looked thin, pale. Her eyes were shadowed. She said hi. I said hi back. Then I hugged her. She collapsed into me. She cried against my shoulder. Big, shaking sobs. I held her. I didn't say anything. Sometimes there are no words. Just arms. Just being there. When she stopped crying, we went inside. I made her wash her face. Cold water. Clean towel. Then we sat at the kitchen table. I served the soup. I made the sandwiches. Grilled cheese with butter. Golden and crispy. She ate slowly. Like she hadn't eaten in days. Maybe she hadn't. I didn't ask. I just watched her eat. After lunch, we sat on the porch. The same place I sat with Leo. The same warm sun. The same blooming roses. She asked if I was angry at her parents. I said I was hurt. She said that made sense. She asked if I was angry at her. I said no. She asked why not. I said she didn't do anything wrong. She said she lived in that house. She said she should have heard something. I said sometimes people hide things well. She asked if I would ever forgive them. I said I didn't know. She said she didn't know if she would either. We sat quiet for a while. Then she asked if I was lonely. I thought about it. I said sometimes, but not the way she thought. I said lonely and alone are different. She asked what I meant. I said alone is just a fact. Lonely is when you wish it was different. She nodded. She said she understood. She said she felt lonely at home. Even with her parents there. Maybe especially with them there. I asked if she was safe. She said yes. Just sad. I told her she could come here anytime. Anytime she needed space. Anytime she needed quiet. Anytime she needed me. She started crying again. Softer this time. She said she missed me. She said she didn't realize how much until now. I said I missed her too. We sat until the sun started to sink. Then she said she should go. I gave her the tin of cookies. She hugged me at the door. Long and hard. She said she would call. She said she would visit again. I said I would be here. She drove away. I stood on the porch watching. Until her car disappeared around the corner. Then I went inside. I washed the dishes. I put away the leftover soup. I sat in Tom's recliner. I thought about the day. About Nina's tears. About her questions. About her pain. I couldn't fix what Ethan and Kara broke. But I could be here. I could make soup. I could leave the light on. That was enough. That had to be enough. I closed my eyes. I listened to the house. To the wind chimes. To the crickets. to my own breathing. I was not alone. I was just by myself. And that was okay. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Summer arrived slowly. June became July. The days stretched long and warm. I fell into a rhythm. Breakfast at 7. Coffee on the porch at 8. Gardening in the cool morning hours. The roses bloomed heavy and full. I deadheaded them every other day. Pink petals falling into my basket. I planted tomatoes in the backyard. 6 plants in a row. June helped me stake them. She said her knees were too bad for gardening now. But she could supervise. We laughed about that. Her supervising. Me doing the work. It felt good to laugh. Nina came every Saturday. Like clockwork. Sometimes she stayed for lunch. Sometimes she stayed until dinner. We didn't talk about her parents much. She said they were still in the apartment. Still struggling. Still not understanding what they did wrong. I didn't push. She would talk when she was ready. Or she wouldn't. Either way was fine. Leo came less often. He had summer classes. Engineering program. Full scholarship. He called every Sunday night. Just to check in. Just to hear my voice. Those calls meant everything. One Thursday in mid-July, a man knocked on my door. I didn't know him. He was maybe 60. Silver hair. Deep-set eyes. He wore jeans and a faded blue shirt. He said his name was Hank. He lived 3 streets over. On Maple. He said he was a widower. His wife died 2 years ago. Cancer. He said June told him I liked to walk in the mornings. He asked if I wanted company sometimes. I looked at him. He had kind eyes. Sad eyes. I said yes. He said he would come by tomorrow at 8. I said that would be fine. He tipped his head. He left. I closed the door. I stood there feeling strange. Not bad strange. Just different. I hadn't walked with anyone but June in years. The next morning, Hank knocked at 8 exactly. I was ready. Sneakers. A light jacket. My keys in my pocket. We walked without talking much. Down Birch Lane. Left on Oak. Around the park. Past the old elementary school. The same route I always walked. But different with someone beside me. He pointed out a cardinal in a maple tree. Bright red against green leaves. I heard it singing. Clear and sharp. He said his wife loved cardinals. He said she called them little pieces of heaven. I said that was nice. He said he still looked for them. Every morning. We walked for 40 minutes. Then he walked me back to my house. He said he'd like to do it again. Maybe Monday. I said okay. He left. I went inside. I made more coffee. I sat at the table. I thought about Tom. Whether this was okay. Whether this was betrayal. Then I thought about what Tom would say. He would say don't be stupid. He would say life is for living. He would say he loved me. And I should let myself be happy. I finished my coffee. I decided Hank could walk with me. Monday came. Hank knocked at 8. We walked again. This time he told me about his wife. Her name was Patricia. Everyone called her Patty. She taught kindergarten for 30 years. She loved children. They never had any of their own. Something about her body. Something that didn't work right. But she loved her students. Brought them home in stories every night. I told him about Tom. About the accident. About my hearing. About the silence. He said that must have been hard. I said it was. But I survived it. He said surviving isn't the same as living. I stopped walking. I looked at him. He was right. I had survived. But I hadn't been living. Not really. Not until the surgery. Not until I heard again. Not until I fought back. We started walking again. He didn't push. He just walked beside me. That became our routine. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 o'clock. 40 minutes. We talked about small things. The weather, the neighbors, books we were reading. Nothing heavy. Nothing that hurt. Just two people walking. In early August, a woman came to my door. Her name was Lydia. She was maybe 50. Tired eyes. Tight mouth. She said June gave her my number. She said she heard about what happened with my son. She said she needed advice. I invited her in. We sat at the kitchen table. I made coffee. She told me about her father. 82 years old. Widowed. Living alone. Her brothers wanted to move him. Sell his house. Put him in a home. He didn't want to go. He was still managing fine. Still sharp. Still independent. But her brothers said it was time. They said he was declining. She asked what I did. How I fought back. I told her about Daniel Park. About legal protection. About documentation. About speaking up. She wrote everything down. She asked if her father could do it. I said if he was competent, yes. I said the law protects people who can advocate for themselves. She asked what if he couldn't afford a lawyer. I gave her Daniel's number. I said to tell him I sent her. I said he would work something out. She started crying. Not loud. Just tears running down her face. She said she felt so alone. She said her brothers made her feel crazy. I said I understood. I said she wasn't crazy. I said wanting to protect someone you love isn't crazy. She wiped her face. She thanked me. She left. I sat at the table for a long time after. Thinking about her father. Thinking about all the people like me. Like him. People who just wanted to keep their lives. Their homes. Their dignity. The next week, Lydia called. Her father had hired Daniel. They were setting up a trust. Her brothers were furious, but they couldn't do anything. She thanked me again. I said I was glad I could help. She said she might know others who needed advice. I said they could call. I said I would help if I could. After that, more people came. A man whose sister wanted his pension. A woman whose daughter was forging checks. An elderly couple whose son had stolen their identity. I listened to all of them. I gave them Daniel's number. I told them what I learned. That you don't have to be powerless. That age doesn't mean consent. That family doesn't have the right to take everything. Some of them fought back. Some of them didn't. But all of them left my kitchen a little less alone. One Saturday in late August, Nina and I sat on the porch. The tomatoes were ripe now. Heavy on the vine. She helped me pick them. We filled 2 baskets. She said she got accepted to community college. Starting in September. She said she was moving into the dorms. Getting away from her parents. I said that was good. She asked if I thought she was abandoning them. I said no. I said she was saving herself. She asked what the difference was. I said one is survival. The other is spite. She was doing it to survive. She nodded slowly. She said she still loved them. But she didn't like them right now. I said that was fair. She asked if I felt the same way about Ethan. I said yes. She asked if it would ever change. I said I didn't know. Maybe, maybe not. She leaned her head on my shoulder. We sat like that for a long time. Watching the sun move across the garden. Listening to the wind chimes. Feeling the warm air. When she left, I walked her to her car. She hugged me tight. She said she loved me. I said I loved her too. I watched her drive away. Then I went inside. I washed the tomatoes. I made sauce. Enough to freeze for winter. The kitchen smelled like basil and garlic. Like summer ending. Like change coming. That night, Hank called. He asked if I wanted to get dinner sometime. Not a walk. Dinner. At a restaurant. I held the phone. I thought about saying no. I thought about staying safe. Staying alone. Then I thought about Tom. About his voice in my head. Don't be stupid. Life is for living. I said yes. Hank said he'd pick me up Friday. 7 o'clock. I hung up. I sat down. I felt nervous. Excited. Scared. I felt alive. I was 68 years old. I had survived silence. I had survived betrayal. I had survived grief. And now I was learning something new. I was learning how to live again. Not just survive. Live. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Friday came faster than I expected. I spent the afternoon deciding what to wear. Everything in my closet felt wrong. Too old, too casual, too much like a woman who had given up. Finally, I chose a navy dress. Simple cut, 3/4 sleeves. I bought it for Tom's funeral. I only wore it once. It still fit. I put on lipstick. Just a little. Pale pink. I looked at myself in the mirror. Gray hair. Soft wrinkles. A woman who had been through fire. But still standing. Hank knocked at 7 exactly. He wore a button-down shirt. Pressed slacks. He smelled like aftershave. Something woody and clean. He said I looked nice. I said thank you. We drove to a restaurant downtown. Italian place. White tablecloths. Candles on every table. We sat by the window. The waitress brought water and bread. Hank ordered chicken parmesan. I ordered lasagna. We ate slowly. We talked about small things. His garden. My tomatoes. The weather turning. Then he asked about my family. I told him about Ethan. About what happened. About the betrayal. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet. Then he said his son did something similar. Not exactly the same, but close enough. After Patty died, his son suggested selling the house. Moving Hank into a senior apartment. Closer to family, his son said. More manageable. Hank said no. His son pushed. Said Hank was being stubborn. Said Hank couldn't handle the house alone. Hank hired a lawyer. Set up boundaries. His son hasn't spoken to him in a year. I asked if he regretted it. He said no. He said he regretted raising someone who saw him as a problem. But he didn't regret protecting himself. I understood that. Completely. After dinner, we drove back to my house. He walked me to the door. He said he had a good time. I said I did too. He asked if he could take me out again. I said yes. He smiled. A real smile. One that reached his eyes. He left. I went inside. I changed into my nightgown. I made chamomile tea. I sat at the kitchen table. The house was quiet around me. But not empty. Not lonely. Just quiet. I thought about the evening. About Hank's story. About how many of us there were. People who had to fight their own children. People who had to choose themselves. It shouldn't be this way. But it was. And we survived it. September arrived with cooler mornings. The leaves started turning. Yellow. Orange. Red. Nina moved into the dorms. I helped her pack. We loaded boxes into her car. Sheets. Towels. A lamp. Books for her classes. She hugged me before she left. She said she would call every week. I said I would hold her to it. She drove away. I stood in the driveway waving. Until her car disappeared. June came over that afternoon. She brought zucchini bread. Still warm. We sat on the porch. She said the house would feel empty without Nina's visits. I said yes. But it was a good empty. The empty that comes from letting someone grow. June nodded. She understood. Her own children lived 3 states away. She saw them once a year. Maybe twice. She said it was the cost of raising them right. Teaching them to be independent. Even when it hurt. The following Tuesday, Daniel Park called. He said he had something to tell me. Ethan filed for bankruptcy. Last week. The debt was too much. The second job wasn't enough. Daniel said it wasn't my problem. I said I knew. He said Ethan might reach out. Might ask for help. He said I should be prepared. I thanked him. I hung up. I sat with the information. I felt sad. Not guilty. Just sad. Sad that it came to this. Sad that he couldn't see his part in it. Sad that he still didn't understand. 3 days later, Ethan called. I saw his name on the screen. I let it ring. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then I answered. His voice was quiet. Subdued. He said he wanted to talk. I said I was listening. He said things were hard. He said the bankruptcy was difficult. He said Kara was depressed. He said they were barely making rent. I didn't say anything. He asked if I could help. Just a little. Just to get through. I took a breath. I said no. He said he was my son. I said I knew. He said family helps family. I said family doesn't steal from family. He was quiet. Then he said he was sorry. I asked if he understood what he did wrong. He said he was just trying to help. I said that wasn't an apology. He said he didn't know what I wanted from him. I said I wanted him to understand. To really understand. That I wasn't a problem to be solved. I was a person. With rights. With dignity. With a life that belonged to me. He said he understood that now. I said I hoped so. He asked if I would ever forgive him. I said I didn't know. Maybe someday. But not today. He said okay. He said he loved me. I said I loved him too. But love doesn't mean I had to save him. We hung up. I sat holding the phone. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. From something else. Release maybe. Or resolution. That evening, Hank came for dinner. I made pot roast. Carrots and potatoes. The same meal I used to make for Tom. We ate at the kitchen table. He said it was delicious. I said thank you. After dinner, we sat on the porch. The sun was setting. The sky was purple and orange. Beautiful. I told him about Ethan's call. About saying no. About how hard it was. He said I did the right thing. I said it didn't feel right. It felt necessary. He said sometimes that's the same thing. We sat in comfortable silence. Watching the dark come in. Listening to the crickets. To the wind chimes. To the world settling for night. October came quietly. The trees were fully turned now. Gold and crimson. The air smelled like wood smoke and apples. I started going to book club again. Every Tuesday. I started playing the piano. An old upright I bought from the church. They were getting a new one. Selling the old for cheap. June's husband helped me move it. It sat against the living room wall. Out of tune but functional. I played in the evenings. Simple songs. Hymns mostly. Amazing Grace. It Is Well. Songs I remembered from childhood. My fingers were stiff at first. But they remembered. Muscle memory. The sound filled the house. Made it feel alive. Hank came twice a week now. Sometimes for dinner. Sometimes just to sit. We weren't in love. Not like Tom and me. But we were comfortable. We were companions. 2 people who understood loss. Who understood survival. Who understood that life goes on, even when you think it can't. One Saturday in late October, Leo came to visit. He brought his girlfriend, a quiet girl named Sarah. Engineering student like him. We had lunch on the porch. The last warm day before winter. Sandwiches and lemonade. Leo told me about his classes, about his scholarship, about his plans after graduation. He didn't mention his parents. I didn't ask. Before he left, he hugged me. He said he was proud of me. I asked why. He said for fighting back. For not giving up. For showing him what strength looked like. I said I was just protecting myself. He said that's what strength is. I watched him drive away with Sarah. His hand on hers, both of them young and hopeful. I felt grateful. Grateful that something good came from all this. That my grandchildren saw. That they learned. That they knew what it meant to stand up. Even when it hurt. Especially when it hurt. That night, I sat at the piano. I played until my fingers ached. I played until the house was full of sound. Full of life. Full of proof that I was still here. Still standing. Still mine. The moon came up. Silver light through the window. I stopped playing. I sat in the quiet. Not silence. Never silence again. Just the peaceful quiet of a life reclaimed. I was 69 now. My birthday had passed in September. June baked a cake. Hank brought flowers. Nina called from school. Leo sent a card. It was a small celebration. But it was mine. I thought about the last year. About everything that happened. The surgery. The betrayal. The fight. The freedom. I thought about who I was before. The woman who lived in silence. Who accepted what was given. Who didn't think she had choices. That woman was gone. This woman knew better. This woman knew her worth. This woman knew that age is just a number. And dignity is not negotiable. I stood up from the piano. I turned off the lights. I went to bed. Tomorrow I would walk with Hank. Tomorrow I would call Nina. Tomorrow I would live another day. On my terms. In my house. With my choices. And that was everything. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. 2 years have passed since Riverside Medical Center. Since the surgery. Since I heard my son call me worthless. Since everything changed. I am 70 now. The house on Birch Lane is still mine. The trust pays the taxes on time. The bills are current. The roses bloom every spring. Pink and yellow. Tom's colors. I still tend them. Still deadhead the spent flowers. Still pull weeds on my knees. My body is slower now. But it works. And it's mine to use. Hank and I still walk 3 mornings a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 o'clock. We've added coffee after. At the diner downtown. The one with the worn booths and strong coffee. We sit in the same booth every time. By the window. We watch people pass. We talk about small things. Sometimes we don't talk at all. Just sit. Just be. That's enough. Last month, Hank asked if I wanted to travel. Nothing big. Maybe the mountains. Maybe the coast. Just a few days. I thought about it. I said yes. We're going in the spring. After the roses bloom. After I know they'll be okay without me. Nina graduated in May. Associate's degree. Business administration. I sat in the audience and cried. Happy tears. Proud tears. She's working now. Office job downtown. Nothing glamorous. But it's hers. She pays her own rent. Drives her own car. Makes her own choices. She comes for dinner every other Sunday. Sometimes she brings her boyfriend. A nice boy. Quiet. Respectful. He calls me ma'am. I tell him to call me Marian. He still says ma'am. Leo graduated too. Engineering degree. Full honors. He got a job in the city. 2 hours away. He visits once a month. Always brings Sarah. They're engaged now. Getting married next summer. He asked me to be there. Front row. I said I wouldn't miss it. The people who come to my kitchen still come. Not as many now. Word spread. Some found their own strength. Some found Daniel Park. Some found peace. But a few still knock. Still need to hear that they're not alone. That age doesn't mean powerless. That family doesn't own you. I make coffee. I listen. I share what I learned. Sometimes that's enough. Lydia still calls every few months. Her father is still in his house. Still managing. Still independent. Her brothers don't speak to her anymore. She says it's worth it. I believe her. June had a stroke in December. Not bad, but enough. She lives with her daughter now. In another state. She calls every Sunday. We talk about the weather. About our gardens. About getting old. About still being here. I miss her. The house next door is empty now. For sale sign in the yard. I wonder who will move in. I hope they like to talk. I hope they like roses. I hope they wave. Ethan and Kara moved again. Smaller apartment. Different part of town. I heard this from Leo. Not from them. Ethan hasn't called since that day in September. 2 years ago now. Kara sent a Christmas card last year. Generic. Signed with just their names. I didn't send one back. Not out of spite. Just out of truth. We're not that family anymore. Maybe we never were. I've made peace with that. Most days. Some days it still hurts. The loss of what I thought we had. The loss of what I hoped we'd be. But hurt is not the same as regret. I don't regret protecting myself. I don't regret fighting back. I don't regret choosing me. The piano gets played every evening. My fingers are stronger now. Less stiff. I've learned new songs. Some gospel. Some jazz. Some songs I just make up. No one to hear but me. And the house. And the memories. That's enough. Last Tuesday, a lawyer called. Not Daniel. Someone else. Ethan had listed me as a reference. For something. I don't know what. The lawyer asked if I would recommend my son. I said I couldn't. The lawyer asked why not. I said that was between me and my son. The lawyer thanked me. He hung up. I sat with the phone in my hand. I felt sad. But not guilty. There's a difference. I'm learning that difference. Every day. My hearing is still good. The implant works perfectly. I go for checkups every 6 months. Dr. Alvarez always smiles when she sees me. She asks how I'm doing. I tell her I'm living. She says that's what she hoped for. Not just hearing. Living. I sleep with the window open now. Even in winter. Just a crack. Enough to let the world in. I hear the wind. The branches scraping the roof. The distant train at midnight. A dog barking 3 streets over. All the sounds that mean life is happening. Life is continuing. Life is here. Every morning, I wake up in my own bed. In my own house. Under my own roof. I make coffee in my own kitchen. I sit at my own table. I look out my own window. At my own roses. On my own land. These small things. These everyday things. They matter. They are everything. I own my days now. The good ones. The hard ones. The lonely ones. The full ones. All of them mine. I keep my keys in a bowl by the door. Blue ceramic bowl. Tom and I bought it on our honeymoon. 47 years ago. The keys sit there waiting. Ready when I need them. Ready to lock the world out. ready to let the world in. My choice. Always my choice. I've learned what matters. Love is not the same as access. Age is not the same as consent. Silence is not the same as agreement. Family is not ownership. Help is not control. These truths live in my bones now. Hard won. Painfully learned. Worth every moment. People ask if I'm angry. If I hate my son. I tell them no. I tell them I'm disappointed. I tell them I'm protective. I tell them I'm done being small. They usually understand. If they don't, that's okay too. Their opinion doesn't live here. Doesn't pay my bills. Doesn't tend my roses. Doesn't matter. Yesterday, I planted bulbs for spring. Tulips. Daffodils. Crocuses. Things that sleep through winter. Things that come back. Things that remember how to bloom. I worked slowly. My knees hurt. My back ached. But my hands knew what to do. Press the bulb into earth. Cover it gently. Water it. Wait. Trust. That's what survival is. Planting things in the dark. Believing they'll grow. Waiting for light. Tonight, I'll make soup. Chicken and rice. Simple and warm. I'll eat at the table. Maybe Hank will call. Maybe Nina will text. Maybe the house will just be quiet. All of it is fine. All of it is mine. The sweetest sound in my life is still the one I choose. Sometimes it's the kettle whistling. Sometimes it's a hymn on the piano. Sometimes it's Hank's laugh on the porch. Sometimes it's Nina's voice on the phone. Sometimes it's the clean, earned quiet after I lock the door. After I choose rest. After I choose peace. I am 70 years old. I have lived through silence. I have lived through betrayal. I have lived through loss. And I am still living. Still here. Still standing. Still mine. This is what strength looks like. Not loud. Not showy. Not perfect. Just steady. Just showing up. Just choosing yourself. Even when it costs everything. Especially then. I sit in Tom's recliner. The leather is worn now. Soft and familiar. I close my eyes. I listen. The house breathes around me. The refrigerator hums. The clock ticks. The wind chimes sing outside. All the sounds of home. All the sounds of freedom. All the sounds of a life that belongs to me. I open my eyes. The room is filled with evening light. Golden and soft. I am here. I am home. I am enough. And that will always be everything.